Oh my gosh, I can still remember that day in the office of my first brokerage getting the phone call from this company. And at that time, I was just feeling that new agent desperation. I was feeling lost, just really trying to find my first real estate client and feeling a little bit just lost and wandering in the process. And so I got this phone call and I was feeling that mix of desperation along with hope. And that's really what led me to wasting hundreds of dollars of the marketing budget I had saved up for the beginning of my career. And that's exactly what I want to prevent from you experiencing, that you do not go through this and waste your money and waste your time and fall for these traps that aren't going to actually help you to further your real estate business. Hi, my name is Braden McKee, and I teach real estate agents marketing and content strategies to help them to generate leads, market their business, and create more awareness and visibility both online and within their community so that they can get more leads and get more sales. If you want to follow along, whether you are watching this on YouTube or listening in on the podcast, go ahead and hit subscribe, follow, and of course, if you're listening and you love the show, leave a review. That helps so much to bring this content out to other real estate agents that are needing help, training, and support in their real estate business. So today we are talking about the truth about online leads and what you need to know to help you to save money, to be really effective if you are going to pay for leads in your real estate business, and what you need to know prior to making the decision so that you can optimize as much as you can in this process and optimize this lead source. Now, before you ever go and pick a online lead source, a paid lead source, I want you to be really intentional with the process of selecting what way you are going to go into online and paid leads. And here's why. There are a lot of companies out there that offer paid leads, and the payment structure might look different. There are some companies that are going to give you the lead and you're going to work the lead and then pay them at the end. And how much you're going to be paying them is just dependent. It could be 25%, 30, 35. I've seen some crazy structures out there, and so you just need to know that up front. Some companies are going to require that you pay them every single month a reoccurring fee, and this is typically a couple $100s at minimum, but if you have a competitive marketplace, you may be looking at a couple thousand minimum just to even get your foot in the door with the company. And then you also, as an agent, have the opportunity where you can run ads and buy leads yourself. So you need to decide before you ever, go and sign up with a company, before you ever run an ad or have somebody else run an ad for you, what kind of company is going to be the best fit, what kind of paid lead is going to be the best fit, and fit really intentionally within your business, Oh my gosh, I can still remember that phone call that I got. I was a new agent. I was in my office, or I was at the office of my first brokerage, and I got this phone call. It was a cold call, and this company called me offering this service where I could pay them and they were going to run ads for me and they would generate me real estate leads. And, I was just feeling a mix of that new agent desperation. I still hadn't had my first client besides a rental or a couple of rentals at that point. And, I was feeling really hopeful that if I could just get my first buyer, I would feel like I'm making progress in my business. I would feel like I'm getting somewhere. And so I fell for the trap. I fell for the call and I signed up on the spot. And the worst part is I signed up and I never heard from them again. I did not hear from them ever again until I had to go track them down to cancel because I had no reporting of what ads were being run. I had no leads coming in. I was spending a couple $100s every single month. There was no kind of reporting, and I had to go track down somebody higher up at the company to even find my account to cancel it because I couldn't find anybody through the main service line that was able to even see my account. They were like, oh, I don't see an account. You must be, running ads with somebody else. And so I want to help you prevent any mistakes like this of just feeling desperate. So you're just going to say yes to this presentation that there's this magic pill solution, because the truth is that there's no magic pill solution. Even with paid lead sources, you have to be prepared to work those leads. And when I say work those leads, you have to be prepared to follow up. Most of them are not actually going to come to you 110% ready to go, ready to look at houses, ready to write offers, ready to list their house. That is going to be actually far and few between. A lot of your lead sources are going to need follow-up, nurture, and relationship building before you're actually going to be able to make progress. And so with that, when you're thinking about getting started with paid lead sources, paid ads, or referral paid lead sources, you need to be prepared to follow up with them up front, especially because you're going to want for them to recognize your name, your phone number, your email. You want to get that name recognition because the likelihood is that they're probably signing up for multiple things at this point. And when it's a paid lead source, it's cold in terms of the fact that they don't know who you are. They're not familiar with you. Now, if you have marketing and branding going on, depending on your market size and depending on how much they've done research and everything into the real estate process, they could have come across some of your stuff, and that would be helpful. It's helpful when somebody sees your social media content, or when somebody sees, maybe you have a really good Facebook presence or you have a good YouTube presence, right? It's helpful if they've seen you before and they've come across your content and your branding, your website, somewhere else when they come to you as a paid lead, but that's not guaranteed. And you have to be prepared to make your leads familiar with who you are and how you are going to help them get to the end goal, whether that would be selling, buying, relocating, right? Buying that investment property. And with that, that's going to take time, and it's actually going to take a certain number of contacts. That's going to be different for every single person, but we know that with more media, with more content, with more ads, it's going to be more contacts that you're going to have to make before the name recognition starts, and then before the trust starts. And of course, you're going to have conversations to create that trust and that relationship for them to actually hire you and buy or sell a home with you. So, a lot of people are presented this idea that paid leads are like a magic solution for your real estate business, but nobody's talking about the other side of like, okay, well, what happens when you get the lead? Well, you have to follow up with them. You have to contact them. You have to try to have conversations. You have to pursue them like it's the girl that's playing hard to get, because that's kind of what happens in a lot of these scenarios, right? Or somebody fills something out and they're like, oh shoot, I was just starting to look. I don't know if I'm ready to have this conversation yet. I don't know if I'm ready to commit to a relationship. So you've got to pursue them, right? Think about the guy that pursued and pursued and pursued, right? Not in like a creepy stalker way, not the stalker guy. Okay, we don't want to be stalkers. We want to think about the guy that carefully, respectfully pursued until the girl was ready, okay? And now I feel like I'm going to need to come up with a scenario so that you know what I'm talking about, or like a movie example. But I'm not really I'm not a great movie person, so that's probably, I might have to ask my husband, like, hey, do you have a movie example of this scenario for me to present with this concept? But you want to think about the guy that like very respectfully pursues the woman until, she really is ready and she's ready to take that next step and, commit. We don't want to be the stalkers. We don't want to be creepy. We don't want to be weird, right? But that's kind of like what you're doing here with leads. And so that's what I want you to know, is that if you're going to sign up for a paid lead source or buy ads or run ads for yourself, you need to be prepared to follow up, because these people are not familiar with you yet. And then once they're familiar with you, they may not trust you yet, and you've got to build that relationship. Again, it goes back to relationships. And if you haven't watched my video on the 3 essential components for real estate marketing, I'm gonna just pin that up here, but that is a good one because I talk about how there's 3 components, and your community, the relationships, every time, no matter what your lead source is, no matter what your marketing source is, it's gonna come down to relationships for that conversion to end up happening. Now, the last thing that I think every single agent needs to know, whether you're a new agent, you're super experienced, and you're adding on a layer of marketing with paid ads or running ads, is that you need to know your numbers. And you also need to be, I don't want to say negative with your numbers, but I think that you need to be realistic with the numbers. If you're talking about, let's say, Facebook ads, I have heard that you can expect for 1% of your Facebook leads to convert into a paid client in about 18 months time. And 18 months is like the average for a real estate lead, these are the numbers that, now this could be a little bit off, but let's just say that we're going off of that. Let's say it's 18 months is the average lead to close time, and we're looking at 1% conversion. So if we have 100 leads that come in this month, September 2024, with proper follow-up, you could be looking at, hold on, I'm going through the calendar. In March of 2026, 1%, right? And so then that goes into your mindset about it. Are you going to give up if your leads are not closing in December? Are you? That's for you to decide, but is that what you want? Now, let's say that you get lucky and you get 1% earlier. Okay, great. So what happens is, the whole point of this is that you're getting more opportunities to do real estate business, right? And so the numbers say that if you have 18 months lead to close time frame for a Facebook ad and you have a 1% conversion rate, okay, so you want to be prepared with your follow-up. You want to be prepared to follow up with phone call, email, text message, right? If you have all 3 of those points of contact. And so you want to be prepared to follow up and nurture them, right, for 18 months. But that's average. So some people could be earlier, some people could be longer, depending on their goals. It really depends on who your ideal client is. But if you're doing 100 leads, your goal is 100 leads, for the first month. And then the next month you have 100 leads, right? And it starts stacking. And so that starts kind of compounding. So if you stuck with it for 6 months, 1 year, 18 months, 2 years, right? You're going to start having some overlap from that one lead source. Now, I really think that if you're going to do paid lead sources and running ads, that should be on top of other lead generation and strategies that you're going to mix in to, add into your layers of how you're bringing in business and leads for you to do real estate. But you have to be prepared and know. And this is another mistake. Again, I want you to avoid all of the mistakes. Running ads and not being prepared for the amount of follow-up, not being prepared, again, I went through a coaching program, and once we got the leads. The leads were there. When they came in, we had no idea how extensive the follow-up was going to be, right? And we really didn't have a realistic view of how long it was going to take. So we just thought we were failing. Our team, me and my mom, thought this was not good. And little did we know, it's not that it wasn't good, it's that we weren't doing the right thing to follow up with them. A lot of people end up transacting. Again, that's a lot of commission lost, but I don't want you to make that mistake. I want you to know and be prepared. Paid leads can be a great way for you to get your real estate business in front of people you wouldn't otherwise be in front of, whether that's because you're new to an area or you're just trying to expand your business and organically it's not going as fast as you want, right? But there are definitely things that you can do to make the process better and to avoid wasting hundreds and thousands of dollars by being prepared and being intentional with paid lead sources rather than just going into it. Because the thing with doing paid lead sources is obviously there's money on the line, and of course there's time involved as well. And if you're trying to hit certain goals faster, sometimes you have to bring in paid advertising, paid sources to get in front of people that you don't already know. But I think that too many agents are sold this magic pill, this magic solution for their business, and they're not prepared for what it actually looks like to use paid leads as a lead source in their business. And so I'm really hoping that this video was helpful for you to actually, think through paid lead sources and what you need to do to be prepared, how you can go about choosing a lead source that's going to be very intentional rather than, just a quick spur of the moment decision, which I just do not recommend. And also how you can track and make sure that you're being realistic when you get started, because I do believe that paid lead sources are a little bit of a slower start than what a lot of agents expect, again, because they're sold kind of this magic pill solution that's just not there. But if you know your numbers and you can track where you're at and be realistic about, okay, are we on track? Does this look like this is working for us? Or do we need to change something? Do we need to change the budget? Do we need to change the targeting? Do we need to run an ad on a different platform rather than the one that we're doing? And so I hope this was helpful. But ideally, I would recommend that your paid lead sources stack on top of your organic lead sources. And for me, one of the biggest ways that I was able to start quickly growing my local email list was with Facebook groups. So if you want to learn about how I did this and the kind of content that I would be focused on right now to do that, I want you to watch this video, which is going to be really helpful, and talk through the strategies and kind of this flow of content that I used to grow my email list once I got the process down and stopped wasting time actually building my database and building my local audience through my email list.